Yes, on air with Aaron, HB Radio, Las Vegas' #1 hip-hop internet station. I am Aaron, and we got our special guest in the building, my brother.
Wow.
Man.
Special guest?
Special, very special.
I get the special in front of guests today?
Special ed, you know? I'm scared.
I can't even dive into that.
Come on.
Can't even dive into that.
You're special, bro. You're special to me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
yes,
saying?
I am special.
Very special guest. This is one of my big brothers, not only in life, but in radio and music and DJing. And this guy's just a legend all around, man. My brother DJ E-Rock is here.
Hey.
What's up, my brother?
Man, I'm good.
Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here, man.
Man, you know, I had an off weekend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone's at Coachella. So it's like,
Right.
you know, I'm not going to go to Coachella. I like to call it No-Chella.
Yeah,
Couchella.
exactly.
You know what I mean? So I was like, yo, I was on the couch. You gave me the call. I was like, yo, I'm tapping in. Let's go.
Yeah. Like, have you been to Coachella before?
Nope.
Never ever.
Nope. No-Chella.
No,
No-Chella, bro.
No one, like, you obviously have friends that go, right?
I have friends that go. Like, I remember actually, and I still need to send this text out, but I remember that Eric Deluxe like went for his first time like a couple years ago, and he was like, yo, I am fucking going every single year moving forward.
Well, Eric Deluxe said that?
Yeah, you know, but I don't know if he's going this year. But I know that, you know, he attends, and you know, we
I know it's a vibe. Like, we have friends that always go, oh my God, you gotta go. You haven't gone yet? I'm like, I haven't been yet.
You know, festivals just aren't my thing.
Man, especially
they're not my thing. I mean, they used to be my thing. Like, you know, when I was younger, I used to go to raves and
you used to go to raves. Huh?
Yeah, man, I used to go to, like, you know, concerts and stuff like that, and I still do, like, here and there. Yeah, but I like to be comfortable.
We backstage and shit now.
Yeah, you know, I mean, when you've been living this life for that long, and you're like, you know, you're backstage, you're with the artist, or like, you know, you're in the pit and stuff like that.
Green room,
and not a lot of this is because, like, you know, we know certain people. It's because, like, yeah, we work in these facilities. Like, we work with the station.
We're spoiled a little bit.
Yeah, you know, you work for the station that, like, you know, that's throwing the concert or promoting it.
Right.
You know, so you get, like, those perks. So, you know, I've been a part of those situations for quite some time where it's like, it's kind of tough to go back and be like, man, I ain't trying to sit in mud for, like, you know, for like 20 hours, man, trying to wait for Post Malone to drink a Bud Light on stage.
People with, like, no showers and, like, I'm cool off that.
You know, Rolling Loud was okay. That was cool.
Yeah, you just went to that, right?
Yeah, I just went to that. That was cool. I like Rolling Loud, you know.
But obviously, you're in the back. You're interviewing the artists. You know what I'm saying? You're like.
Yeah, it was a balance, though. It was a balance.
When's the last time you've been to, like, a concert or a show where you weren't backstage? Like, you actually had to watch it from the, like.
I'm gonna date myself by answering this.
Okay. Well, shit.
New Edition.
Oh shit! Damn,
New Edition. I want to be in the crowd for New Edition.
This is probably. Oh, okay. That was the last concert that you saw from the crowd.
Yeah.
This is probably like before radio. You were in radio.
No. This was like not too long ago. Like at T-Mobile Arena.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I'm a huge New Edition fan. So like. New Edition, what else? I think Guy was on that tour, stuff like that. Man. Like, that's the shit that I grew up to. So it's like. You know that, I do want to be.
That's crazy because you're only like 25.
But that crowd's not doing. That crowd's not mosh pitting.
Yeah, no,
you know what
you're
I'm
right.
saying? It's not mosh pitting. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not really smoking weed like that. You're not walking out of those concerts where you're like, no, for real. I smell like shit.
You definitely don't want to be in the crowd for a Travis Scott fucking show.
I was in good seats for the Travis Scott tour, or what was it, Utopia?
Up somewhere in the stands, not in the mosh pit or whatever.
I was in seats for the Wu-Tang show, not recently, but the one that was at MGM Garden. You know?
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Might have got a little 420 contact. You know?
Did you? You're getting it.
So, yeah, you know.
You came out there hungry as fuck.
Nah, but hey, look, if I have the choice to, like, be comfortable, especially at this day in age in my life, I'm gonna choose just to be comfortable. That's it.
Right. No, 100%. I'm the same way. Like, you know, even if we don't have to be out, we don't want to be out. You know what I'm saying? It's not like before.
I want to be out. I just want to be comfortable.
Yeah. Well, you want to be comfortable when you're out. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. That's it. You know, like, you know, I keep on hearing that, like, you know, Ubers are hard to get, like, you know, on Coachella and stuff like that. And for me, I'm just kind of like, yo, like I'll lose my shit if my Uber cancels on me, like, and
you're in the middle of nowhere
4 or 5 times. I don't know where the hell to go, and you got to walk like 10 miles to the Uber spot. Like, yo, that's not cool. Like, That just doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah. To just watch like, and you're not. It's like you want to see certain people at certain stages too. It's not like you want to see everybody at this stage or whatever the fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna be bouncing around, and it's crazy.
Hey, if you want to get your steps in, that's definitely a great way to do
it. Yeah, 100%.
That's an amazing way to get your steps in. So
yeah, get your workout on. Well, I'm very happy that you're here, man. This is the first time that me and you have ever like sat down and actually in this type of environment. You know what I'm saying?
Why are you blushing, bro?
Come on, because you're so cute. Yeah.
Well, I know that, but come on, man. We're friends.
It's like,
it's okay.
I know, but like you're like.
I would be the same way if I sat down with Franzen, so I get it.
Yeah. And I got to sit down with him last week, and I was telling him the same way. Like, these are guys. You guys are people that I look up to in this industry, and I'm so happy that I actually get to interview you on my show now. That's crazy.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? I want to know the beginnings of like what got you into radio and DJing. I know originally from the Bay Area, and I know you were. You started in the radio at a really young age, right?
Man, I started on the radio when I was 15 years old.
Sheesh.
15 years old, interning at KMEL. Wow. First, I interned for Rick Lee.
Okay.
That turned into me interning for Franzen.
Wow.
And Chewy Gomez.
Wow.
And like I started mixing on actually both of their shows. First on Chewy's.
Wow.
Then like I was a sophomore in high school when I got my first mix on the radio.
Like, how did you even hear about interning for them? Did you know somebody?
I don't even think it was a thing. But you know what's crazy is that there were only 2 interns at KMEL like during that time. Maybe there might have been a few, but there were 2 standout guys that were there all the time because I was always there for Chewy and Franzen show.
Okay.
Because Chewy was doing nights. Well, it always started because I would come in with Rick Lee. Chewy would do nights, 6 to 10, and then Franzen would do 12 to like 2, called the Up All Night show.
Okay.
Which
so you stayed there for
a
all
legendary
show.
I would just stay there, just hanging out.
Right.
And I would also stay for overnights. Shout out Peter Tenito.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if there's, people that remember that name, but I would stay there like that long and just be so
soaking up game and
learning how to run the board, I mean, just talking about what we wanted to do in radio, what our goals were and shit. But, man, I was like 15 years old.
So you kind of just fell into it as far as
I fell into it, man. And this is where I was going, was that there were 2 standout guys. The other guy that was there all the time, but he was there during the day soaking up all the business, was Larry Jackson.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Larry Jackson. You know who that is, right?
No, who is he?
The guy created Apple Music with Jimmy Iovine.
Oh, my God. Okay. Jeez.
And the guy is by far one of the most talented and brightest, not only names, but minds in the music business.
Wow.
And it's crazy because I see all of these big achievements and all these things. I mean,
and you and him were just interns.
We were just interns answering the phones. KMEL, hello.
Yeah.
KMEL, what do you want to hear?
Yeah.
Chalking up requests. They don't do that shit no more.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do it for Franny. I used to do it for Chewy, and so did Larry Jackson, which is crazy, man.
That's wild. Yeah. So how long were you interning at KMEL before?
I was interning
before you started mixing.
So I was, I always turned in guest mixes. I was on Chewy's show on Friday nights. And here's another fun fact. And a lot of people that probably are listening right now that know us both, that see me around with Romeo Reyes. I actually knew his brother before I knew him.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So me and Rob Reyes, which is Romeo's older brother, we used to share a 9 o'clock. It was like the 9 o'clock drop. It was only on Fridays, but we used to rotate.
DJ'd too.
Yeah, he DJ'd on KMEL also.
Okay.
We started at the same time, but he and I would share that 9 o'clock set back in the day.
Wow.
But yeah, I did that all through high school, which is crazy. I did the 12 o'clock drop or 12 o'clock. I don't know what we called it, man. It was the Up All Night mix, I think, for Franny.
Okay.
Whenever Franny didn't want to do the mix, I'd be like, I'll come in and do it. I don't give a fuck.
Sick.
And I used to do that. And then I did that all through high school. And then I became my own mixer and paid.
Wow.
It's so crazy, man. I think about that. It's we all we wanted to do was just get $20 a mix.
Right.
25. Right. Actually, at the time, it was $50 a mix.
Oh, my gosh.
So yeah, I remember getting my first paycheck. I think I was like a senior in high school.
And you're in high school too, so it's like you're mixing on the radio, and obviously the radio era at that time is like different.
We
than
didn't
it was
have
now.
no MySpace. We had no social media. We had no friends.
If you're on the radio, you're a motherfucking celebrity and shit, and you had to go to high school, and your friends are like,
imagine that.
All the girls was on you.
Imagine that. Actually, no, they weren't.
No,
they weren't.
Dude,
my game was
on her
trash.
No way.
My game was trash because I was so invested into what I wanted to do on
it's
the radio.
It's not trash now, though? I'm just kidding.
I'm getting married in fucking 3.5 weeks. So, you know, I think I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think the thing was, like, yo, like, just growing up in radio and being so in love with it, like, yo, I just didn't care.
Right.
And there were times where I would be out and about. Like, I remember being in the clubs in 18 and up spots when I was like 16, 17 years old, and Rick Lee was DJing, or R.I.P. Bobby Speed or Franny, and then there would be like a girl that like wanted to talk to me because
and you weren't really on that. I'm like, I'm focused on. I'm watching.
I didn't
Rick
care.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care. Like, oh, yo, so and so thinks you're cute. I was like, I don't.
I'm watching
care.
Rick Lee DJ right now. Yeah.
Like, I just didn't care back then, man. So like, it wasn't like, you know, I was getting down where the get down was. I just wasn't. Right. You know, I was really focused.
There had to be a time when you ended up caring, though.
Probably when I got a lot older. When I got a lot older,
there had to be. You know, you're not gonna care for a certain amount of time.
There's a spot in Rick Lee's like house, like behind a couch, that like, you know, definitely got a.
Where there's some kids that live, like little E-Rock kids.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. You know.
Oh man. So now you interned, and then you finally turned in guest mixes. You finally got a on-air slot.
I was also on the street team.
Oh, nice.
I was on the KML street team. That's where I got my marketing chops from.
Okay.
Shout out Johanna Lagarda and Mike Tao. Like, they were my bosses back then.
Okay.
So, yeah, I did street team. I did, you know, I was mixing. I was still answering phones.
Right.
Like, you know, I was trying to make this, like, my career.
Right.
Like, you know, more than anything.
Did you know at that point that I don't want to do nothing else in the world? This is where I want to be.
My goal was, and I remember telling myself this when I was probably like about like 16, 17 years old. I was like, you know, I want to be a dual threat. I want to be able to talk on the radio, and I also want to be able to mix on the radio.
Yeah,
why? Because I watched Franzen do it my whole entire like adolescent life. Like, imagine growing up in the Bay Area listening to Franzen when he was growing up on the radio. He was young.
Yeah.
When he was an intern, and they gave him a lot of airtime when we were growing up. And I would listen to all these things. And even today, I would even bring up, man, remember when you had a crush on Chili from TLC? Like, that's a joke that came from, like, literally when I was, like, even younger than when I started. Like, I was, like, 12 or 13 years old.
Damn.
TLC. In their prime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Did they come to the station and then you see?
I have no idea. I wasn't there yet.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't there yet. But I have a lot of stories on, like, what I've seen, though, I can only imagine what on who came to the station and some legendary shit that I never thought would be legendary. It's like,
oh wow,
it's bananas. Like, you know, the stuff, you know. But yeah, working under Franzen, working under Rick Lee and Chewy, like, that was, you know, an incredible thing. Then I ended up at Wild 94.9.
Oh, nice.
After, like, that's a funny story. So after working at KML for a few years. I met this girl, and this girl worked at Wild 94.9.
Okay.
And then, it's like my first, like, time ever really falling in love and taking a relationship seriously. Oh,
shit, okay.
And then I remember, like, I don't know, I had a falling out with Rick Lee or some shit like that. And then I ended up at Wild, like, you know, like the day later.
Oh, wow. Because it's in the same building, right?
It was in the same building. Okay. So, like, I remember, like, you know, it was me, Glenn Oury, and a couple other people in a closed, like, door room. And then they were like, yo, you and Rick got to get along. This is going to be weird. We're in mixer meetings, and you guys don't fuck with each other, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck it. I'm out.
Oh, shit.
And then I remember literally I got in the elevator, and I went right downstairs, and then I had a meeting with Jazzy Jim within 30 minutes of me leaving Wild, which is a crazy thing. And that was... I don't know. I've had some controversial moves in my Bay Area career, like, per se.
Yeah,
you know, but
and we're gonna talk about them all, man.
they built me to where I'm at today.
That's true.
So I'm not mad at that.
So when you left KML and you went to Wild, and did you have your own show? Were you mixing? What?
I was mixing. I forgot why I left. No, I went to Wild, and then I did commercial production there.
Okay.
And that was something that I got into. So I understood, like, you know, how to like produce promos.
Right.
Basically, like, you know, how to curate a radio station.
And
from,
you
like,
use
you know,
that shit today. That's the shit you use today. And you do your own shit.
Yes and no. I have somebody else who does it.
Oh, okay, there it is.
But
you know you know how to structure it, and you know what you want it to sound like.
You know, I learned like radio from some of the best names. Like, you know, obviously, like, you know, I mentioned it earlier. Like, you know, my on-air personality shit comes from, like, you know, a lot of Franzen, you know, a lot of Big Von, a lot of St. John, and, you know, even some parts of Chewy, and even Cruz, like, you know, from my you know, my years in LA.
Great dude.
But like, you know, the cool thing was at Wild was that I got to learn a different side of it. I was a programming intern. You know, I would be writing letters to like labels requesting, like, you know, pieces of vinyl for our mixers, or like, you know, CDs for the street team to give away. Or the flavor units, what they called it at Wild. I was doing that, and then I was also producing like commercials, and you know, I started actually doing my own voice reads during those years. But I remember I got so fucking burnt out.
Oh wow! And how long were you there now?
I was there for a long time. Okay. I was at Wild longer than I was at KMEL.
Wow.
I think a lot of people in the Bay Area that grew up listening to me more so will remember me from Wild than they do on KMEL.
Okay.
Because, like, you know, they just gave me that.
And
much
you were
more
older at this time.
Older. I was out in the streets. I had my own thing going on. I wasn't a part of a crew, really. You know, I was doing all the hot nightclubs, because Wild was like the party station. So, like, if you were on Wild, you were doing like the hot shit.
Oh, okay.
At the time, you know what I mean? So I was, you know, I was integrated in all that. And then I remember I got so burnt out though from commercial production that I went to Michael Martin, who is a legend in the game, by the way, and God bless that guy, man. I learned so much from just being able how to compete in business from that guy.
Okay.
I went to his office. I was like, hey man, like, this commercial shit's just not working. Not exactly like that.
Yeah.
I was like, it's just not working out for me. Like, you know, I'm very tired. Imagine being a young kid going in, a guy that's well in his 40s, very established in his career, and go, hey man, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sure that he probably looked at me like, yo, what the fuck?
Like, you got a lot of runway. Like, what the fuck? Come on,
your career is just starting, young man.
Yep.
Imagine saying that, and then he was like, all right, cool. I was like, yeah, but, you know, I don't want to do commercial production. I'm just going to mix on the radio. He looks at me. He was like, nope. I was like, what do you mean? He said, if you don't do this, you don't do that.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit. He's like, yep. Sorry. Bye.
Damn, so that, like that.
It was that quick.
Wow.
Because, man, the guy was running, like, you know, like a multi-billion-dollar radio station that was the hottest shit in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Like, for those that are listening right now, man, Google, like, you know, JV, RIP, like the Doghouse.
Yeah.
Like, they were, like, one of the most legendary shows.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not even in just the Bay Area, like, in the country. Like, every show, like, strive to be as crazy and as fun, as vibrant as them, where it was like, you know, they were it. They were the standard.
Yeah.
You know, like he's not going to worry about a guy that mixes at 2 a.m. that doesn't want to do commercial production. It's like, all right, cool. You don't want to do it? I'm going to find somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I ended up doing that, and I forgot where I went. I think, did I go to Sacramento? I think I went to Sacramento for a little bit.
Okay.
Lived in Sacramento, and then did radio up there. Did a 5 o'clock traffic jam up there for like 2 years. Then I made my way back to KMEL because Big Von was like popping.
Okay.
You know, at the time, and then still is.
Yeah.
But like, you know, then we kind of like put the band back together there, because that's who I hung out with at Wild.
Okay.
And then I left. Then when I say I've made some controversial moves in my Bay Area time.
Yeah.
I left KMEL at the time, like, you know, after making my way back from SAC.
Yeah.
And then I launched a new station to go against KMEL.
Wow.
And that was definitely something I didn't really think too much upon. Imagine, like, you know, just, you know,
you just got the opportunity. You're just like, yeah, let me do this.
I got tapped by, and people don't know this, but it was like Sway and King Tech that vouched for me to be like the guy behind that station.
Oh my God. Do you know what station was it?
It was called Power 92.7. Okay. But I remember King Tech was in touch with the program director and the guy running the show at the time. His name was Skip Dillard, who is actually now the brand manager for I think like WBLS and Hot 97. He's like a big dog,
shit, yeah,
you know, in New York.
Damn.
But he tapped me to come in and be his music director and his mix show coordinator.
Shit.
And I was mixing at 2 a.m. at KMEL at the time.
Right.
And I'm like young in my 20s. I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Right.
Like,
it's like, am I gonna do this for the rest of my life? 2 a.m. Like,
no. You work hard to work even harder down the line when you're that young.
Right.
So I ended up doing that. The station folded in 8 months.
Wow.
There were rumors that that were circulating that at the time, like, the programming staff from like KMEL and Wild found buyers for it because the guy that bought it was like the former sales manager.
That's crazy.
There was all this like crazy thing, but then like that really like had a real crazy. That was a really pivotal time in my life because that was like, I thought it was it.
Yeah, it's like, what do? You're gonna go back to KMEL again after you left left twice?
Oh no, they launched promos making fun of me. Like
no way.
Yes.
Like, what were they saying? They said your name.
Oh yeah. I mean, they didn't say my name, but like they were making fun of me, like straight up. Like I remember that, like what was it? Brand Nubian, Don't Let It Go to Your Head. Boy.
Wow.
And every time they would play that record, they would dedicate it to me.
That's crazy.
And I remember my friends in college telling me that, going like, "Yo, man, do you hear what they're saying?" I'm like, "No, I don't." And they would tell me.
Yeah, it's not like you were listening.
I remember one time I heard.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Fuck, man, this is the really thing." And imagine being this kid that's in love with radio.
Yeah.
And doing radio is all you wanted to do, and then all of a sudden not knowing, having your first ever time where there's a lot of uncertainty. Like, wow. I couldn't go back to Wild. I couldn't go back to KMEL.
Right. I
couldn't do anything in the market.
And how old were you at this time?
I was in my
early
20s.
Okay.
2004 or 5.
So early 20s?
2005 or 6, I think.
Okay.
Because I had just bought my first condo.
Oh, shit.
In the Bay Area. And but yeah, imagine like going through that. So like, I went through a really tough dark time.
It's like, do I get a regular job? What the fuck do I do now? Like,
I mean, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but I mean, these guys used to be on the radio saying that like, yo, man, like we're gonna make sure that you never work in radio again, and then you're at Home Depot.
Wild, holy shit!
Like you were gonna be, pulling wood. Pause at Home Depot.
Yeah.
That's literally verbatim what people would say.
Wow.
Like there was just a lot that surrounded that, but to be honest, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And a lot of it was because I went to Sirius at the time.
Okay.
And Sirius was like anti-FM, anti-terrestrial.
Right.
They only had 300,000 subscribers. Wasn't Sirius XM yet.
This is early years.
Sirius.
Okay.
And I remember taking a trip out to New York and staying on one of my friends' couches and just networking. I remember meeting with them. And then I remember meeting with Geronimo, who's still over there. He's like one of the big VPs of programming over there.
Shit, okay.
Meeting with him, he oversaw like all the hip hop and all the dance stations.
Right.
And then he would introduce me in the building like, yo, man, this is a guy that everyone's talking about in the Bay Area because he did not obey what
he was introducing you with that.
Like people hate this guy.
Oh, wow.
And but they're talking about him. These are the type of people that we need on our platform. Sure enough, I started doing Wax 42, which was an amazing station where you created 30-minute mixtapes.
Okay.
A lot of big names that that
were you on the mic too, or just straight mixing?
I was here and there, not as often as I am now, but I did that, and then I want to say I got my first chance to be an on-air personality on my own show on Hip Hop Nation. At the time, it was Sirius 40. It was called Bombay Radio, and all I did was play Bay Area slaps.
Okay.
I played hyphy. I played old school Bay Area, Sideways into Mac Dre.
Yeah.
Too Hard for the Radio into fucking whatever was new hood stars.
Shit,
the hyphy movement was popping. And at the time I was also rolling with E40, which is another thing that we'll talk about.
We definitely got to talk about that.
So yeah, man, I did that, and then I don't know. I ended up on MTV.
Oh shit.
That changed my life forever.
What was it?
I was on Sucker Free.
Oh shit. Okay.
With Cypher Sounds.
Yeah.
And I remember because when you're in that building, in that serious ecosystem, at the time it was like all the big names, but big mixtape names.
Yeah.
So I got to be good friends with Drama and Who Kid,
right?
like, E-Feezy.
K Slay was there too?
K Slay. Wow. Like, I got to see those guys because I would travel to New York and like do shows or whichever, and like, just get to know like the staff.
Right.
Like,
right. And you'd obviously hang out with them outside and go to their gigs.
I struck up a really great relationship with Who Kid.
Dope.
So I ended up being one of his like DJs on one of his shows, and then I ended up running his DJ collective, which was Shadyville DJs.
Okay.
And that was like 100 DJs across the country, and we would try to dictate like what was the next trend. Like, it was like a leverage play. Sure enough, one day Who Kid calls me, and he's like, "Yo, I can't make it to MTV next week. Can you go?" And I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Oh my god!
The fuck you mean? What do you mean? You can't make it to be on MTV, so you want me to come in and fill it in for you? He's like, "Yeah, I do."
That is wow.
And and I'm thinking that it's not real. But I think that everything, I'm like that, period. I think that everything that happens to me amazing is never real until it really happens.
Right.
So sure enough, it was real. He connects me with this lady named Tracy Bachman, who's a producer there at MTV. And we line it all up. I book my flight, my hotel. I'm there the next week. And sure enough, I'm on the radio. Oh, not on the radio. I'm on TV.
Yeah.
Talking about Keek and 40 and Too Short and all this other stuff because Hyphy was so big. And a lot of that was because I had a national platform for Bay Area music at the time. After that, my life changed.
Damn.
Completely.
So there's this just like a one-time fill-in, or you was always filling in for
I did so well. And at the time, Bay Area music was just so like relevant and popping.
Yeah.
That sound was just so big across the country. Like, Tell Me When to Go was like, top 10 everywhere at the time. 40. Like some markets even thought that 40 was a new artist, but no.
Wow, that's crazy.
But like I started to come up there every time I dropped a mixtape, and so like my whole entire mixtape portion of my career, I want to say I probably dropped like maybe like 10 or 15 like really like certified like bangers.
Yeah.
Like ones.
These are like original songs. Like, did you have like artists send you stuff?
I would have artists like send me exclusives,
and you would just mix the hottest records.
I would mix the hottest records, and Who Kid or Clinton Sparks at the time, or whoever wanted to collab. Like, I would do these tapes with them.
Okay.
I had an opportunity to do a Gangsta Grills with Drama at the time. We just never made it happen.
Yeah.
But like the Who Kid ones, we had this series called Bay Business.
Okay.
And then what we did was, like I said, it would just be like 20 like exclusive records from all these Bay Area artists. But the payoff was, if you were on this mixtape, you got all this national exposure.
For sure.
We went on MTV and we promoted every tape. We, what else did we do, man? Like, back then having a mixtape that was like available on Canal Street in New York was like, that was like a grail in hip hop.
Yeah, for sure.
You had made it to a certain extent if you had a mixtape that was available.
You're certified in the streets.
On Canal Street.
Yeah.
Bootlegged.
Yeah.
If people were bootlegging your shit.
Yeah, you knew.
Like, you knew you had something going. So Bay Business was kind of like my thing. Like, that's what kind of changed my life. And, I did like maybe about 6 or 7 of them. I even did one with Jay Espinosa.
Oh my god!
I did one with.
You still have copies of those?
I did one with Franzen also, but it was titled something different.
Okay,
we got that on MTV too. Like we I had this like system and vehicle that I took advantage of.
I'm sure artists were like on your helmet, like I want to be on the next one.
They were, but then I had a different goal back then, and to be honest, I leveraged all the MTV shit to get into Vegas.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I ended up. Remember, and it's crazy because I'm telling this story like the fastest I've ever told it because it's just such a fucking long ride.
Right.
But I remember taking all the shit I had ever done, right? This is before sports, before like, everything, and even taking like some of the like, the controversy, added it in there, and like, taking that whole entire story. And I remember calling Shecky Green.
Oh, shit, okay.
And he was referred to me by a lot of other people. And I knew him from my radio days. He was pushing, like, records. He had a Royce the 5'9" and Eminem record, Bad Meets Evil, that I supported very heavily in San Francisco at the time.
Okay.
on the 12 o'clock mix with Franz.
Exactly.
So I remember people had said like, yo, you know, Shecky's tied into Vegas. He lives out there. And like, yo, he's like the dude like responsible for bringing AM out there. I'm like, oh shit, I got to talk to him.
Right.
I've known Shecky forever. So I remember calling him. And I was like, yo, man, I heard you're the guy I got to talk to, this and that. I don't know if you remember me, yada, yada, yada. And he was like, yeah, I remember you. Da, da, da. Yeah, send me a demo.
Oh shit!
I made it.
And he was programming DJs at certain places, and
he was at the Original Light. So he had this thing called Game Thursdays, where he would invite like the game girls. Like Francine D was like, you know.
Oh shit! Okay.
Like, you know, it was like a whole bunch of like, it was like Atmosphere models before Atmosphere models were like a thing you could actually go out there and contract for.
Yeah.
So yeah, he would invite like, you know, just a ton of like, you know, models. I don't even want to call them Instagram models because we didn't have Instagram.
It wasn't Instagram, but yeah,
you know. And then he would like, you know, throw a great party. It would be just a very classy, like, you know, dope party. And I remember,
and you're in your mid-20s at the time still.
Yeah, it was like in the heat of the hyphy movement. And I was still like on MTV and stuff.
You're still on MTV. You're still doing your Sirius show.
Yeah, still doing the Sirius show. I have my flyer, and the flyer is like me holding like this Sirius satellite radio from back in the day. It's so crazy. It looks like a fucking 8-track.
Yeah, now. It's like a small. Yeah,
it's so fucking old. It's like, what the hell? So I remember I sent him the demo. I still have that demo somewhere in my computer. And he calls me back. He's like, yo, yeah, we can make something happen, man. What's your rate? And I tell him my rate at the time. He's like, oh, I don't know if I can make that happen, man. You know, I was like, hey, sheesh. I'm just, I just want to be in Vegas.
Yeah, because you had to travel from the Bay Area, obviously, to Vegas. So
I don't care. I would have took $200.
Right.
To be honest, I probably had, I have taken $200 out here, you know, and this is 17, 18 years ago.
Right.
But he was like, all right, cool. Let me get back to you. Gets back to me and said, yeah, we're going to do it. I'm like, holy fuck. This is like my first.
So he has you on a Thursday night.
Yes.
Okay.
He has me on Thursday nights. My first official.
This was a residency or just a guest DJ for?
To be a guest DJ.
Okay.
And, you know, I remember I'm so excited. I fly in. I get off the plane. They're like, yeah, we got a car waiting for you.
Damn, this is like, I made it.
I made it. I'm thinking I made it, right? And I walk, you know, when you go down those escalators at
McCarran at the time.
Yeah, McCarran at the time. It's Harry Reid now. You go down those escalators right by that Starbucks.
Yeah.
They have a sign.
Oh shit.
And the sign says DJ E-Rock on it.
Oh shit.
And it's the driver who's still driving for the company today.
Wow.
His name is Trevor.
Okay.
Trevor picks me up, and there's an Asian guy with long hair, like sitting Indian style, like, you know, next to him. And I'm like, who the hell is that? What the hell's going on here? Like, yo, why is it was like, yo, I have to pick up 2 people. Is that okay with you? It's just you and him. I'm like, all right, cool.
Oh my god.
You know who that guy was?
Steve Aoki?
Yes.
That's crazy.
You
said Asian dude, long hair. I was like, it's gotta be
Steve Aoki. Steve Aoki was playing on the Friday at Light, and I was playing on the Thursday.
Oh wow. So first time meeting him, everything.
First like real out of town gig in Vegas.
Did you even know who he was?
Yeah, I knew who he was. Okay. You know, but he wasn't like huge. Like the open format mashup scene was just starting to like build, and he was open format at mashup, but then he was very electro house.
Okay.
At the time, so an electro
is this like DJ AM's prime?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, you know, the whole thing was like, you know, electro hadn't like blown up yet.
Right.
But it did. Remember, people were playing like all those records.
LMFAO and all that stuff.
Before that.
Okay.
So like, yeah, you know, I remember, flying in and sharing a car with Steve Aoki.
Oh man.
And then staying in my room. The room had like automatic curtains and shit like that.
You were just like, this shit is my shit.
This is my shit, man.
Like, I want to be here.
This is my shit. And then ever since then I caught the Vegas bug. I mean, I did a couple other like, you know, spots before that. What was it? Polyesters at Stratosphere.
Wow.
After I did Light, you know, I ended up doing the Palms for a while.
Okay.
I did a spot date over at Body English. I actually got pulled.
No way.
Yeah, on one night at Body English. I was filling in for Melody and I got pulled.
What the like? How did that? Well, we gotta take a quick break. I want to know about. We gotta talk about. I want to talk about your Vegas.
There's a lot of ways that we can go here.
Yeah,
man.
Hold on. We gotta.
You're gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah, we got more with my brother E-Rock. Man, if you guys are just tuning in, man, my brother E-Rock's in the building, and man, we're just getting to the tip of the iceberg of his Vegas. What do you say? Like you're getting your feet wet in Vegas story. So
and now it's home.
Yeah, look at
now
you.
It's home, man. I don't ever want to. It is the best city in the fucking world.
It is. It definitely is. Let's take a quick break, and we got more with E-Rock right after this, man. It's On Air with Aaron right here on HB Radio, Las Vegas' #1 hip hop internet station.